Jim Morris, local real estate agent here in Nashville, Tennessee, working primarily in residential real estate, also investing in both residential and multifamily, as well as I own an event company called Impact Social Events. So I just wanted to collaborate with Nick Lankford here and have a great discussion about everything: real estate, life, the economy, entrepreneurship. I think we've got some great topics to discuss, and we've got some questions we're going to roll over. So just really want to jump in it. I'm going to let Nick introduce himself and tell you a little bit about what he's rocking and rolling with. But I do invest with Nick personally in some of the deals that he's done in his company, and he does some other unique stuff. So let me introduce Nick Lankford. Why don't you take it away and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, Jim. So Nick Lankford, moved to Nashville about 3 years ago. I was an Air Force pilot for 12 years before that.
What'd you fly?
I flew a few different things.
Okay.
Started out flying.
Like Maverick, like Top
No,
Gun type of stuff.
I'm not that cool. That's unfortunate, No, I started out flying MC-12s, which is a tactical information surveillance reconnaissance aircraft that I did that in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then came back and flew C-17s, which is like a cargo airdrop platform. I did that for 6 years, and then I finished up flying a small single-engine AC-208 with Hellfires on one side and AGR-20 rockets on the other.
Okay, all right. Not to go too deep into
Yeah.
it, but I'm sure you've done some cool stuff.
It was cool. Yeah, we were training partner nation air forces on how to use that platform to counter terrorism.
Nice, cool.
So that was cool. Finished that up and then moved here, and then that's when I really jumped like fully into commercial real estate investing. And then in 2022, went ahead and with one of the partners that I'm partnered with in several real estate transactions, we opened up a roofing company here in Nashville.
Nice.
Mighty Dog Roofing of Nashville East. So that's
Nashville East, Mighty Dog
there
Roofing.
you go.
Let's
Mighty
go.
Dog Roofing. If you need
Love
a
it.
roof, give me a call. No, we're looking to grow that, and the interesting thing about it is really like the reasoning behind it was actually motivated by real estate. Like, as you know, real estate's pretty capital intensive.
Of course.
And so we're looking for a cash flowing business to add capital to real estate, and buy more.
Interesting. See, we've been friends, boys, and I didn't know that's why you started it. Now I knew veteran owned, and you played into a lot of that, and that's very important to you. But I didn't know that was going to be your your cash flowing asset to then do more investing. That's pretty cool.
It's a large part of it. Yeah. I mean, obviously being able to help homeowners, is awesome feeling, especially when we do insurance work and we can help somebody get a new roof, on the insurance company's dime. Everybody loves that. But yeah, a lot of it had to do with getting more capital into the real estate market, right?
Totally.
I know I'm super passionate about real estate, but like, how did you get passionate about it? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
Yeah. So I bought a home in Nashville when I moved here. I've been in Nashville for about 5 years, and I was working for a company and just kind of blinked and I owned a house.
Okay.
And I always knew that real estate was a great investment. I've seen people make major gains, and I've also seen people be able to help out the community by putting them in a rental and, without credit and things like that, right? So I love that piece of it. And I knew that I'd invest, and I fortunate enough for some reason, because no one actually ever taught me anything about real estate, right? Like you don't go to a high school course that teaches you invest in real estate, and this is how you buy your home, and this is how you help with credit, right? Like, that doesn't exist. So for some reason, no one, I don't think, ever told me this, but I did understand that buying my first home was a real estate investment. So knowing that, I was interested in it, and like I said, I was working a lot, and I just blinked and I owned a house. So for me personally, I was like, okay, well, I need to know more about this. Right? If I want to be consistently doing this and maybe buying a rental home, and, we hear about Airbnb, and I've got one of those now, right? So, I was like, okay, well, I really need to learn the contract and things like that. And I love the house and love the opportunity, and looked into house hacking and renting rooms and long-term, short-term rental, and decided, hey, let me get my license as a backup plan. And then really started to dive into it on the investment side, the new construction, meeting more friends in the industry. You know, me, I love to network, so I'm going to all the real estate events and do all
Right.
that, and just fell in love with it. And then sold my first home to a client who became a really, really good close friend. I actually sold, we bought their home and then I ended up selling it 2 years later. Um, but man, that closing day and just seeing the joy on people's faces, like that's why I do it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's amazing.
That's
It's amazing.
awesome. So you blinked and bought a property. Was that like? Did you live in that house, or did you turn it straight into a? This is the
This
house.
right here, yeah.
This is the
This
blink
is
of an
the
eye.
house, yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
awesome.
So yeah, I lucked out honestly, and I'm grateful for the real estate agent that I had because he did put me in a good property, location wise. Price was good, condition, and in real estate, those are your three factors, right? When you sell a home. So luckily, I bought something that was priced well, good location, and good condition. Um, but yeah, I mean, we Airbnb out of this. We stay here. I mean, it's an asset where I've had long-term renters in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's just so many ways to make some money in real estate.
Oh yeah, I mean that's what I love about it. That's why I'm so passionate about real estate is the ability to create generational wealth.
Yeah.
I do have a controversial question now
Okay,
that
let's
I just thought of when you mentioned that your first investment was this house, but you're living in it. How do you feel about kind of some people, whether or not a home that you're living in is an asset or a liability? Because on a balance sheet, right, it's a liability, but maybe you think it's kind of is it an asset or a liability? Then
Well,
Jim Morris's head.
I don't like liabilities. I think a home is an asset. I think that you need to be strategic and utilize that asset to your advantage, right? So, being that I own this house, it's an owner occupied short term rental permit I have for it. So, if I'm going to a conference in LA for 4 days, why ain't I making $600 on Airbnb while I'm not even here?
I love it. So you actually may be able to service some of your debt that's that liability through cash flowing,
Oh,
rental.
100%. Before we had the baby, we rent out the 3 rooms. I got the sauna in the fourth. Man, we paid our mortgage for 2 months
There you go.
in 1 month.
Okay.
And
That's pretty
Caitlin,
creative.
Caitlin's great because she's like, oh, I like cleaning the rooms, and
Yeah.
I like talking to the guests if
Right.
there's an interaction, if we were ever coming and going. But like, yeah, I mean, it works out well because it offsets that cost.
Yeah, 100%.
And then now we have furnished bedrooms because we had to buy the stuff where it was just us. So now we've got more furniture, more bedrooms, things like that. And those are all things that we own. So if we don't put renters in there, well, if you need to stay the night, if a friend's coming in town, right, it gives us
Yeah, well,
options.
when you got married, your family was here. They probably stayed
Yep.
there. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. So, to your point, yes, I think it's a liability if you're not thinking strategically on how to offset some of those costs. Because I think in today's world, you can't just put everything into, oh, I'm going to appreciate this asset and I'm going to make 100, 200, 300 when I sell it, right? Because if you're just focused on that game plan, it's you're missing opportunity today, in my opinion.
Well, obviously, we're in different spaces, really, within the real estate part on investing. I mean, I have a single family, one.
Yep.
The rest of it's multi, and as you know, because you're invested in some of my stuff. We are really big on cash flow, and of course, there's going to be some appreciation, but that shouldn't make or break the deal. That's gravy on top, except for forced appreciation, though you can accomplish in the commercial space.
Sure.
It's a little more difficult in residential, but you can in residential, right? I mean,
can.
through rehab, right? It's probably pretty similar value add.
Upgrading and making sure it fits the element of who you're putting in it. I think in residential, same as multifamily, right? You're not going to go put quartz in every unit if rents are on average 600.
Oh no,
right? That doesn't make sense from a capital expense. So
yeah, no, we look.
So, dude, tell me about what you got going on, and tell us a little bit about your company, your capital company, and some of the wins you've had.
Yeah, Anabolic Capital. That's kind of my capital raising entity, if you will. It doesn't have any assets, just for liability reasons. But that's kind of a branding entity, if you will.
Okay.
is all it really does. It also puts things under contract, but it's my brand, and I own 230 general partner in 232 units
Okay.
across 4 complexes.
Nice.
The most recent one that you're also invested in is my favorite, probably because it's my most recent.
I like investing in the investor's favorite things.
It's a really great asset. It's awesome. Super excited. But we closed on that in July.
Yep.
132 units, Class C. That when we finish the reposition will be a C plus,
Nice.
B minus. And really the only thing that's going to be holding it back from being a straight B would be the vintage. It's a 70s vintage, so at this point it's pretty hard to have that be a B. But we'll have some nice amenities on the exterior, and then all the units are being rehabbed. So it's a $1.5 million rehab budget on that. That will then do that forced appreciation that I love about commercial real estate. Is I'm a big math person, as you can probably tell with the balance sheet question earlier. And so I just love in commercial real estate that we can look at like, hey, here's where the rents are going to be post reposition. Here's how much it's going to cost. And based on the projections for cap rate, we're going to force it to be worth this much.
Sure.
And there's some factors in there that you can't control, right? The Fed right now moving interest rates, which the cap rates are tied to. You might talk to somebody that claims they've been decoupled, but they haven't. They're always going to be somewhat tied together, and the delta between those two will change, compress and expand, but they will move together. So there is some of that stuff, but you can work that into the underwriting assumptions, and really provide that risk-adjusted return that I know you loved when you looked at the deal, right? I mean, who doesn't want to make 18, 19% projected, of course, average annual return on their money. And then that doesn't include, appreciation that could occur, right? Because we want that to be gravy. But
I got a question for you. So you're talking about multifamily investments. You own a bunch of units. You've got this company that buy, your branding company, and you put all the deals together, and you allow people to come in and be involved based on their credentials, of course. What, in your opinion, is the toughest part about a project that has $1 million value add in it? Like, what are your struggles with some of these stuff? Like, in Nashville proper, on the residential side, right, contractors are flaky, they don't show up, right? There's a lot of, BS technically that goes on in those trades. Like, are you seeing any of that? And also, I know that we don't live in that market that we invest in.
Yeah, right.
So can you talk a little bit about how, is that a struggle and what you've kind of done to overcome it? I mean, from my side, being the investor in this project, things have been flawless, but I know there's a realness to you solving problems to make it feel flawless for someone like me who's invested.
Yeah, definitely. And it hasn't been flawless, and we are upfront with our investors that in the monthly newsletter. I mean, there's been some hiccups. They've been pretty minor.
But that's what I mean.
It's pretty
like,
minor. Yeah.
To me, it's flawless because it hasn't been, hey Jim, we're going to do this, and we can't do that at all. We need to do this. It's been, we just need to adjust this or move.
Yeah, we have to replace a roof that we thought we were just going to repair, but we built in some of those contingencies. What I would say to answer your question is that the larger the budget, the larger the project, the easier it becomes. It is extremely hard dealing with, contractors that are a little bit, they're willing to take on a smaller project.
Gotcha.
If you're rehabbing 10 units, that is more complex and harder than a $1.5 million rehab over 132 units, because we're able to hire much better general contractors that are overseeing the project. And of course, we're still project managing the contract, the GC, and we're still asset managing the asset, but we've got the ability at that scale to bring in a third-party management team that's also coupled with the GC arm.
Of course.
And so now we've got this nice synergistic effect occurring between our regional manager that's managing the property managers and the GC that's able to bring in, for instance, at that project, we've got teams on the ground there that mobilize, and they're there. Yeah. And they're rehabbing units for the next year. And so
there's a commitment to that type of project with those single or just
they're not doing other stuff. Our
Exactly.
crews that are there are rehabbing our units, whereas you hire a contractor to do some work on your duplex here in Nashville. There's a good likelihood he's got another couple projects going on, and it's not a fault of him because he has to put
Yeah, it's
food
just on a
food on the
smaller
table.
scale. It's on a smaller scale,
And
most
so
likely.
that mitigates a lot of what the concern is.
Gotcha.
And for instance, at that property, we got our first 10 units delivered kind of with our rehab, and then we kind of QC'd those, made a few adjustments on like, hey, we really don't like the way this looks. We want to do this instead. And then at that point, we've kind of approved our template.
Gotcha.
And we also checked to see how they were renting, right? Proof of concept. And they rented for $25 above pro forma, which was great. They were all pre-leased before they were even finished.
Or even finished.
So
Yep.
at that point, we're like, hey, go.
Yeah.
You're as
The
fast as you
market
can
is
turn it.
telling us this is good. Let's hit the
Yeah.
hard and finish them all out and do it as quick as you can.
Exactly.
Please and thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And they're well compensated also, right? Because the GCs managing a project like that are going to get 9 or 10%, maybe 8 if you got a good relationship with them and you've been doing a lot of stuff with them.
Of course.
And 10% on $1.5 million, well, that's not bad.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I like 10%.
So back to my question earlier, I did think about it. So say I'm an investor here in Nashville, and I've actually talked to one of my buddies about this. I'm kind of doing some mentoring with.
Okay.
He's a younger guy, and he kind of wants to get into real estate, and he wants to flip a couple properties, and he wants me to kind of help maybe with the capital outlay or maybe project management a little bit. But how would you go about, like, how do you find, if I come to you and I'm like, hey Jim, like I want to find a duplex here, and I want to be value add, like how do you go about finding that, and how do you kind of I'm used to underwriting large multi, like the smallest maybe being like a 50 unit or something. How do you underwrite or like vet a duplex here in Nashville?
Yeah. So I'm sure you're using some type of financial model tool, right? So we have something similar as well. It's on a much smaller scale, but you're looking at cash on cash, right? And then you're looking at what your return is, and then you're looking at what that value add is. The biggest advantage you have in today's market in Nashville when you're looking to do a flip or a couple of units with a value add, is really understanding what type of loan, if not cash. So, like, for instance, if you have cash or hard money, hard money being a higher percentage, maybe 12%, buy some points, draw fees, right? So that kind of makes the deals a little bit skinnier. But if you're using your cash, then you're cutting out those interest rates and those fees and those things. So I always tell everybody, cash is king on this side of the business because you can go get something off market. Right? There's such limited inventory of these great assets that we know most of the players that are being successful are coming in quick with cash. So I use a similar tool to probably you, but you outline the renovation, the value add, you look at your total costs in, your fees, what your costs are to buy it, and then of course what your costs are to sell it, right? Because this is also something that people forget. They're like, oh, well, I didn't have to pay a realtor to buy the property, but you're going to have to pay a realtor to sell the property.
Right.
The other piece of it is on most flips is people want to get skinny on the expense and not stage it.
Okay, and then
we could
sacrifice
do that last year. We could do that last year, but if you're not spending 3, 4, 5 grand on staging this year, that thing's not going to sell as quick. It's because the market's just not as crazy. It's not as hot right now.
Yeah.
Now, what I think's going to happen is as we get to the spring, we're going to go back to crazy in Nashville.
Okay, let's go.
The inventory is just so low.
Yeah.
And you got to think about this, man. Like all these people that bought and they may just be getting by because they bought a little too high and the rates were low, but that monthly may be a little higher, right? So all the people that can stay in their homes or just getting by with those monthly payments are gonna stay. They're not gonna sell. The people that need to sell, right, because they can't afford it, they're going to hopefully sell the property with an assumable loan. So from an investment standpoint, if I can buy your house and assume your loan at 3%, this works way better than me paying, at a 7% rate.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's opportunities like that, but at the end of the day, I think if a fix and flip, you got to find a really good deal. It's got to be off market if you're using hard money because the costs. if you've got cash, it's going to be much easier to
Yeah.
get in there, pick something up, and it's all relationships, right? I mean, the stuff that all the companies that send out these wholesale deals, those are going to everybody, and they're not great deals. It's the one-on-one relationships where it's like, hey, I've got this. I need to move it quick. I know you're going to bring a buyer, and it's not going to be
Truly
bullshit.
off market.
Yeah.
Truly off market. So you're doing all that analysis for your client.
I it's interesting. If I'm not personally investing in it, I personally do not want to put numbers on a spreadsheet tied back to my business because my numbers and my relationships could be better than those that are actually flipping that home.
Oh yeah, definitely true.
Right. So
Yeah.
like I can definitely tell you what I think I can sell it for, that after repair value, right? So that'll give you your top line number.
Yeah.
I can tell you what I might be able to negotiate down and get it here, and I can give you the fixed costs, but the renovation costs I personally try to stay away from because if I make a deal work and all of a sudden they don't use you
I'm
as the
gonna blame
roofer.
you.
They don't use you as the roofer and go to some crazy expensive shitty company that they had to bring back 3 times and it
Yeah.
delayed. They paid another mortgage note and they had more utilities, right? Like that's not my problem. So I don't want to tie my name and my brand to something that I can't necessarily control. Now, if you want to do a flip with me, you
Let's
get to
go.
leverage
You're
all my
like,
partners and let's do it.
I got all the people in the Rolodex.
So
Jim Morris.
I hope.
Yeah, no, I mean I think that's huge. So having those relationships is where it also allows you to underwrite properly, right? Because you actually know what something's going to cost rather than somebody that's like, well, I think I'm just going to spitball here and it's going to cost this, and then they find out when they actually get it scoped that it's going to be a lot more.
And I would tell your friend, if he can't walk into a property and run numbers, then bring someone who can.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Like I've got a buddy who's inspects houses, and like you throw him $100 and he's gonna tell you exactly what every little detail is wrong with it. Right, and then you can go and try to get quotes if you don't have all those quotes, because I know that there is small unique things that certain people customize and do, and so you don't have every number, but at least we know if that's functioning correctly or I'm going to actually have to replace it.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier. But again, I think it's the relationships. And I mean, you own a roofing company and invest. Like, what do you think about relationships? Like, what's important to you? How do you maintain your relationships for your growth?
For roofing, I mean,
Just
specifically, you're
clients
talking more
and-
about on the multifamily
Just
investing.
science and investing, and I mean, just relationships in general. Tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
your thoughts on it.
I mean, I think the main thing is just touch points, making sure you're getting that contact. You need to be providing value for them.
True.
So, if you can be putting out value add, different than value add in real estate, but similar concept, right? Value add to your customers, or in the multifamily space to your investors, that's going to be a lot more engaging for them, and they're going to feel like they're getting something out of it. So
Right.
now, you more have a lot better two-way street going on there, rather than just picking up the phone when it's time to invest and being like, "Hey, I'm talk to you in 6 months." Like, "Hey, what?
Give me
Can you-
250,000.
Can you write me a check for $250,000?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little difficult. It's not impossible, but it depends on your previous relationship. But you need
It's gonna
to
be a little easier if you've got the relationship.
yeah, and you need to be providing that content that also not I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but proves that you're an expert in you need to be a subject matter expert.
True.
And proving that from time to time is not a bad thing. I don't think it's egotistical or anything, but it's like you need to be putting out content that proves that you're that subject matter expert. You actually know what's going on. I don't want somebody trying to get my money to invest in a deal that I'm like, I don't think this person even really knows how to underwrite a deal. Well, next, like I'm
My
interested.
favorite is, you talk about subject matter experts, but my favorite thing to see is a real estate agent calling on all investors to sell them homes, but they've never invested in a home.
yeah, so they don't even know what they're talking about when they talk to the investor.
And I'm like, even if the whole fake it to make it thing, like totally get that, right? Like, have your confidence.
I
and-
guess,
and do,
yeah.
and do you?
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
Like,
I'm not a-
like you've got to get somewhere.
Not a big fan of it personally.
But you've got to get somewhere, so put on your suit to where you want to be and try
Yeah.
to get there, right? Like I understand that piece of it, but what kills me is the piece where it's like I work with investors, but you've never invested, and you don't have off market relationships, and you're just doing a transaction. You can find a realtor that isn't just doing a transaction, that actually has done this and can help and advise. So it's just crazy to me, like how do you invest with someone who's not the subject matter expert?
No, the answer is you just don't.
You don't.
No, yeah, that's simple. But how should those realtors go about that the first time? Like, obviously somebody's got to start somewhere.
Not that so like for me, for instance, right? Like I didn't invest, but what I did was I put myself around everybody that did and worked every single deal as if my money was in it with them. So I saw it from the beginning. I went when they were getting draws from hard money. I went and, was in conversations, not me speaking because it was my project, but with the project manager having tough conversations. I've had the meetings where they're on the phone with the lawyer, because they're taking draws, and this, that, and the other things happen, right? Like there's so much complexity in it, especially when you're using hard money or doing a rehab. Or I've been in those rooms where hey, hey, you need to come to the house right now. We're having lunch. We drive down there and we open up a wall and it's all mold.
Oh man, that's
right. Like those are real things. So
yeah, that's
so
not good.
I would say if I was a new realtor, or if I was a realtor who doesn't think they're the subject matter expert, just surround yourself and be vulnerable. Like when we first met, remember I was like, hey man, I don't know everything in multifamily, but like, you mind if I ask you questions? And what, I don't want to be annoying, but like, if you have a deal, could you tell me why you liked it, why you didn't like it, what you're looking at specific, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
putting myself in that arena so I can see how you are analyzing and doing it, knowing that you've done this multiple times.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely makes sense to me.
And then when you do it,
It's good
like
advice.
we have, right? Like now I can talk through the reality of it, and also, hey, look out for this, or this happened, or make sure you remember this. I mean, one of the biggest things you taught me was like we could change the water flow system and save $132,000.
Yeah,
And
there
I'm
you
like,
go.
what,
Yeah.
dude? Like
Water conservation. Yeah.
So there's those opportunities that I think you learn from experience.
Definitely.
But there's also those opportunities that if you're just vulnerable and say, hey, I don't know anything, can I tag along? Can I help? Can I, what can I do to just be in the room and hear some of these conversations? I mean, that's the expertise that you're going to get without actually having to put your money and invest in it yet. So,
There you go.
So that's good. That's good.
The mic now.
That's good advice for those other realtors. I mean, because
You got to start somewhere.
You got to start somewhere,
Yeah.
but it's always like the chicken or the egg thing, I feel like, and that's good. Because I was a little interested, you had invested in my deals, but I wasn't sure, before that when you were advising clients, what had your experience been? So that's how you got it done, which is cool.
Yeah. And for me too, like I will never advise anybody on multifamily. Like people who are interested because I invest, I just really kind of send them to you.
Yeah.
Like, meet Nick, because he's going to be he's going to be the person that's going to be able to explain this down to like the finest, tune. So.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. I always love referrals. Yeah.
So if you know anybody that wants to buy a house or
Yeah,
sell a single family home.
I'm looking for them all the time.
Nah, I know you are.
I'm looking for the homeowners that we put the roof on for them, and they're getting ready to sell. I'm gonna have them call you.
Let's go.
I'm gonna tell them you're gonna get them better top dollar than anybody else. Hey, I got the guy.
I beat 4 realtors yesterday over in Buena Vista. I was the 5th realtor to come in, and I didn't even pull out a packet. I didn't even give them my marketing plan. We didn't even talk about compensation for me. I just had a conversation with them, and they signed with me.
There you go.
And that's what it is. It's just bringing that value.
Okay.
Listening. What did she say? She said to me in the first 10 minutes, every realtor came over here and she didn't feel like they're honest. And I said, well, I'm not going to sell your house for a price I can't sell your house for. So I'm going to be the most honest with you right now. If you don't list it at this, I'm not going to list it.
Right.
This appointment's over.
Because otherwise it's just going to be pain for you too, right?
It's pain for both of
Yeah.
us. And
Nobody
if
wins
you're
that.
making a life decision, she's going to retire and move to her, end all be all home, and she's going to sell this one first, and she wants enough cash to buy the next one cash, right? Like How do you mess with someone? How do you not be honest? How do you tell them I'll get you 500 and their house is worth 400? Like, to me, that's like I couldn't sleep at night. I'm
Yeah.
gonna ruin that woman's life, or I'm gonna get her so excited that she's on this path to the next season in her life, to retire, to buy this home with cash, not have a note, not worry about it, and I'm not gonna be able to produce and rip all those positive emotions away. What's that do for her? Screw my brand. It's gonna kill my brand.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even worried about me at that point. I'm more worried about this woman who I just ripped her dreams out of her heart, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's not cool at all. Build somebody up like that just to be like, oh yeah,
just to
actually,
try to get a deal, to try to make it
Yeah.
happen, to
Yeah.
try to talk her down on price, to try to get some money out of it. Like,
Yeah.
that's not the cool thing to do, man.
I mean, that probably gives people a bad name.
But you see it all the time. You see these houses, and I'm like, that's listed for 700,000, and the next closest comp is 600. Like, we're 100,000 off. What realtor? And what happened? They just wanted the deal.
Right.
I
Oh
call
yeah.
it commission.
For sure, that's what happened.
Commission breath. They just said, "Oh, I need listings. I'm hurting. It's January, right? Slow in real estate. We all know that. But like, how do you just go through that process knowing you're not going to be able to fulfill that commitment as a fiduciary responsibility
Yeah.
because you're a realtor,
You
right? You're licensed.
They
So
just don't care.
it's crazy. But
That's interesting.
so that's it, man. Yeah.
Maybe they need to come hang out with you, kind of see how you do things, you know, and then they'll be able to go back out there with a little more integrity and kind of help. But how long does it take you to comp out a house? Like, is that a long process, or are you pretty fast?
Depends on the uniqueness of the property, right? So, once we're in the downtown core, there's so many transactions happening close to each other that you have a comp set that's bigger and you can filter through. You get out to the sticks, to the boonies, right? A house within 5 miles may not have sold for the last 3 years. How the hell do you put a price on that?
Yeah.
You don't price it at
How
the price
do
3 years ago.
How do you?
So you look at the market, you look at square footage, you look at other properties, and you have an honest conversation and build a plan, right? If you think the max is this, and the client really wants to start at the max, I have that conversation up front of, if this doesn't sell at this price, we need to move it to this.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And if it doesn't sell at this price, we need to move it to this. And here's the timeline that we're going to wait. And here's the information I'm going to give and the feedback and all that information, right? Because I call everybody who shows the house until they answer. I don't know if those other realtors like me for it, but I call until they answer. But we share that, right? That's market knowledge. That's real life, real time. So once we get that information back to them, we just make those decisions. And at the end of the day, I want to know what's going to cause you to get out of your seat and do jumping jacks, and what are you going to be happy with that you can still write me a 5-star review. And if we're not aligned on those two numbers, then I won't take the deal.
Right.
And I don't want
Let somebody else have.
I don't want to give them false hope. So it's just a very upfront conversation. I was watching something on YouTube this morning, and the gentleman was talking about how he won't show a house unless you're pre-approved. And he's like, that's my business model. That's what I do. If you don't like it, you can go find another real estate agent. They're probably going to be a rookie.
Right.
Because most people who have been in the business, who do a good job, have done so many transactions that they realize I've showed how many houses and people couldn't get approved and never could buy the property. So I'm not going to do that.
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you really drill down the psychology behind it, that is a stupid business move. And would you hire a realtor who runs a stupid business?
No, I want to hire an expert.
So the expert's telling you this is the process. So finally in my brain, because this was something that I'm like, I did this way and I did that way, and it worked sometimes and it didn't work. And I'm like, I am the expert. This is the reality of it. It doesn't work all the time. Why would I do that? That's a bad business move. So if you want to hire a realtor who makes bad business moves, that's totally fine. But the experienced ones are going to go through this process. And again, if you don't want to hire me because I asked you for a pre-approval, which is necessary for us to write a contract.
Okay, that was my next question. Is there a reason why somebody wouldn't have a pre-approval?
Early in the process, they're excited about a house. They want to go see it today.
They haven't done the paperwork to get but okay.
So, but as you know, I can't submit a contract. They're going to go, okay, show me proof that they're good financially. whether that's proof of funds, bank
Yeah,
statement.
What if they
it's
just
cash.
send a little proof of funds that shows $1 million in their bank account, and you're like, hey, I'm gonna get a loan, but here's my bank account here.
I
What do you?
mean, if you got $1 million in the bank,
then
I want to be your friend.
yeah,
Probably.
you're trying to get that person in to
I think
see
I
it.
might show them the. No,
You got to take them to Brentwood or
no,
something,
I,
right?
I'd have the same
Before you do.
conversation unless they're saying they're going to use cash. You know.
Okay.
But again, this whole thing and this whole way of running a business is to truly help the client as well, right? I don't want to show you your dream house, and then we find out 5 days later that you can't even buy it, and
Yeah.
your credit score because you've got the same name as your late father, and someone ripped off your social security, right? Like there's so much crazy
Oh,
stuff.
man, it's just the
that
bass boat I just bought, Mastercraft. They have the wakeboarding boat over here.
Hey,
I bought that instead of the house. No, I'm
it's
kidding.
happened
I don't
before.
have one. I want one though. Take.
Uh, But you know what I'm saying. Like at the end of the day, if you've got $1 million in the bank, I would still tell you to leverage the bank's money. But
Well, you'd be crazy not to on a 30-year fixed note, even with interest rates where they're at right now. I mean, come on. What have you ever had somebody before we get too far into the Fed? Have you ever had somebody screw up a transaction because they went and bought like a boat or something, some big thing, and then the loan couldn't go through?
I had one person who moved a lot of money from one bank account to another, and it raised an immediate red flag, and they had to move it back. So it worked out well because we finished the transaction. But I'm advising and guiding right from the beginning. Like, don't do anything out of your norm, right? If you're renting right now and you're a first time home buyer and your rent's $1,400 a month, whatever it is, and you cut the check on the first, cut the check again on the first, right? If you transfer $3,000 a month to your mom's account because you help her with living expenses,
That's pretty nice.
like keep doing that because we have a history of that and that's normal.
Yeah.
It's the abnormal things, like, oh, we got a house under contract and, I just picked out $11,000 worth of furniture because we bought the house.
I love
it's
it.
like,
Let's get it going.
we're returning all that furniture like right now.
Right.
And I'll be over there with a truck. I'll help you.
Can I buy a house in Bitcoin yet?
Not yet, but
soon.
Tampa, Florida was the first house purchased. I think it was purchased with an NFT.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bored Ape.
Something like that. I don't
So
know.
they bartered then. So they traded an NFT for the house?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. That must have been one expensive NFT.
The big thing I think that's coming next in the real estate world is the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
So, right now in Tennessee, you use a title company, right?
Yeah,
a lot of other
right.
states, you just use an attorney, but you use a title company.
Yeah, I'm used to using title companies.
And there's all that, sign this paper, this. If we could just put something in the blockchain and use smart contracts, it's going to make these process just way faster. Although a lawyer is an old profession, so I don't know if they're going to actually allow that industry to be as disrupted as some others.
So there's a lot of attorneys in Washington also.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, look at stocks and blockchain. I mean, and NFTs and Bitcoin and all that. So
I feel like the blockchain, if it was tied to your title, would also help, prevent title fraud.
True.
It would be no doubt that Jim Morris owns his house.
That's kind of the whole point of
whereas I guess in theory somebody can, create fraud around the title.
But then you get into, okay, well, now you're taking away title insurance, which is a major insurance industry. I mean, I think there's only 2 monopolies, but, you've got everybody tied into that.
Yeah.
So it's a big change, but I think it's coming. I just don't think it's going to be as immediate as I think it could be.
Interesting.
Right? Like AI. AI started 25 years ago and it just became public, a month ago with ChatGPT? Like, you can now access it as a common human, whereas
Artificial intelligence?
AI.
Hasn't it been? We've only had it for a month.
For us to actually go in and publicly use it, like a common person, I didn't know of anything else.
Huh.
You're saying to create content, like written content.
Yeah, like it scrapes the internet and provides you an answer.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
And then you can be like, make this funnier, and it literally will make it funnier.
Okay, I like that. I'm
Make
gonna
it
play around
make
with
it
that.
more detailed. It'll add more details. It's crazy.
We've got a drone that we fly for roof scans. If we're not going to
With
climb
your
the roof,
software,
that
yeah.
it has artificial intelligence that detects hail hits.
Real.
It's pretty cool. I mean, all they did was just, I don't know for sure, and I'm sure it's proprietary, but I think basically just took photos of hundreds of thousands, probably pictures
them into an
of
algorithm.
hail and build an algorithm and teach the computer that
True.
this is what this looks like from this altitude above the roof. Height above the roof is 30 feet. This is what a hail hit looks like, and then just repetition of the computer is picking it. Something like that, I'm sure, is how they designed it. But yeah, we have that, which is pretty cool for some of these like real steep.
Because you ain't getting on it and climbing
I
down
mean,
that.
We'll climb some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
To take a look at it. But there's definitely some that are really, really
Complex.
difficult because of the architectural change that's occurred. You probably see like the ranch style homes kind of out of fashion.
True.
With the whole 412, relatively low slope roof. It's more now like massive architectural structures that are beautiful curb appeal, but insane roofs,
Yeah.
and insanely expensive. Which I like that part because that make more money.
He's making profit on
Yeah,
that.
the
It
margin
mainly
on that.
affect the roof.
Yeah, for sure. Here's my next question for you.
Sure.
So the 10 years probably it's 100 basis point change from like 6 months ago, right? Is that like 4.3? Now we're at like I haven't looked at it since this morning around 9:30, but it's probably at 3.4. I mean, what's happening with 30-year mortgages? I don't look a lot at 30-year fixed note mortgages. I mean, I look at commercial products. Like, what's happening with those right now? Are they back down to like a 6 handle or?
We're seeing 6.25 right now, today. I don't know. I have no idea. I can't figure it out, honestly. Now, I can make a bunch of speculation, right? And I can tell you I read this article and I read that article and this is what's happening and that's what's happening. I have no idea what's going on, honestly.
So have they trended back down?
Yeah.
I guess that's my question.
Yeah.
What was it? What was the
So
peak on a 30-year?
it went up to 7.5, and then I think 7.71, and then it came back down. Now we came back into the high fives. Now we're teetering low sixes.
Okay.
It's actually been the lowest in 4 months. Yeah.
So things are probably improving on the home buying space now as far as affordability of the monthly payment.
That's the toughest part is the high interest rate knocks the numbers out of whack. People get uncomfortable and they just want to halt,
Right.
And then if you have the last 2 years, that's driven up all the comps. So you can't buy a $300,000 house in Nashville. That's not falling apart.
I mean, that would be a dump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shanty.
But
Maybe they have a shack down
Now
there.
that's 425. But 4 years ago, you were getting something nice. So you add the higher cost, and then you add the higher monthly rate, or the monthly, your monthly mortgage cost because the higher rate, and it just kicks out a bunch of people to buy.
Oh,
And then you throw in headlines. I mean, the news headlines are just, negative world we live in. The world's crashing. Buy an asset today, lose $5 million tomorrow.
Well, yeah, they got to have the viewers on there, and
True.
they need to have that negativity, I
True.
guess. That's why I don't watch that news.
I don't watch
really
the
often.
news
I get
either.
most of my news from written
Same. Smart man.
Wall Street Journal.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't watch 24-hour news cycle. Plus, I don't have time. I'm busy trying to make money.
Do you want to be negative all the time? Then watch the news.
Negative mindset? No, I'm out on that.
Because this little girl got hit by a car. This person, shot up a grandma. This Waffle House got robbed. Like, who wants to hear that all day, every day?
Yeah, I mean, I know what's going on, but
I don't need to see it though.
It does happen.
I don't need to see it. Yeah, have you been to that Waffle House down the street?
No, I
don't go to it.
I live in the Gulch, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got fancy. I own a roofing company. I own all these doors. I live in the Gulch. Okay.
Yeah. It's a one bedroom. I haven't gone to a 2-bedroom yet. I need to. I need a home office. So I need that
Write
second
that
bedroom
square footage off on your taxes,
to
baby.
turn that into a home office. So I need to start making more money. So maybe at the end of this year, I'll switch over to that 2-bedroom lease.
Hey, if you need someone to find you a house, You know what to call.
Well, the thing is, I still consider the house that you live in to be a liability on your house.
Okay. Oh, so I didn't get your opinion on it.
You're
Well,
not
let's bring it all the way back.
You're not gonna change your
All
mind.
right, so let's hear it. Let's hear it.
I mean,
So a house is a liability.
I mean, you have
because
if
of the
you have
cost.
a mortgage on it,
Okay.
which I think most people have mortgages on it.
Now let me ask you this question.
Because it's got to be an asset on somebody's balance.
What if you don't have a mortgage on it?
Then it's an asset on your balance sheet.
So what are taxes?
But maybe not an asset.
What are
it's
taxes?
an asset. It's just expense.
It's an expense. So it's an asset, but it's costing you money.
It's a good question. I have to think through. Well, I just think that you don't have a liability on your balance sheet associated with the home at that point.
True.
You have expenses associated with it. It's certainly not a cash flowing asset. But you don't have a liability on your balance sheet, right? Whereas when you have a $300,000 mortgage on the home, on the $500,000 home, that's an asset on the bank's balance sheet. So it has to be a liability on somebody else.
It's an asset.
It's a liability.
So you're saying because you don't own it and you're paying into it and you're not producing an income off of it, it's a liability.
Yeah, but that's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, definitionally, yeah.
And you're gonna have your people that say, "Oh, well, it's gonna appreciate," and when I sell it, but you're not selling it today or this month or this quarter.
No, and there's a lot that goes into it also. And I'm not saying I will own a home that I live in, and I will accept that liability.
Where's your Gulf rent going to? What's that going to? The Gulf rent.
Well, the thing is,
Market Street. They own that building, don't they?
I don't know. I was gonna say the thing is though, what rent does is it provides me flexibility.
True.
Next month I could move out if I needed to or if I wanted to. I could be like, I don't like this place anymore, and I'm moving next year. Well, when I have this house, it's a lot harder.
True.
To do that.
True. Unless you're a realtor.
Unless you're real, but there's a lot of friction associated with buying and selling real estate. There's a lot of transactional costs.
And real estate, the last couple of years was very liquid, right?
Yeah, that's not
because you put your house on the market on Friday. Jim Morris gets you 37 offers by Saturday at midnight. And you're under contract Sunday, and we're closing in.
What's your record number of offers?
22.
So 37. Where's that at?
That was bullshit. Sorry.
Oh, okay. That's on the one I need to find something.
22 offers, and my fastest was an hour and a half under contract.
That's pretty good.
Yep. First showing. Already wrote the Good realtor. Actually, really good realtor. Already had the contract written before the showing. Scheduled the first showing, and submitted it while they were sitting in her car in the driveway. I'm like, I need you on my team because that's how I roll. Like,
yeah,
in a hot market like that.
Bring her on to him or her. Bring him on to Jim Morris Real Estate.
I gotta reach back out.
Yeah, get them on the team. You gotta have people like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are you building out the team? What's going on with? I mean, I don't think I've really talked to you much about that. I know a lot's going on with Impact Social, but what's going on with the Jim Morris Real Estate?
So left the Coupon Group, stayed with Bradford, my broker. Got a great relationship with the owner, Kyle Phelps. Just had lunch with the principal broker, Scott Richardson, yesterday. Have a great relationship with those guys. They treat me very well. So staying with Bradford Real Estate. I started a group, so I've got a director of marketing, an advertising manager, a personal assistant, a transaction coordinator. And then my wife, Caitlin, is actually doing a little consulting, helping me build the business and grow the business. So
how many people you got on the team then?
5. But I'm the only realtor with a license. So I'm doing the transaction, but we're all working together to build something great.
Okay.
So once I have my processes and procedures to a point that's replicable, yes.
Then you'll bring in the next license.
Because I don't want to bring in a realtor who's good without having everything in my brain to make them absolutely amazing.
I got you. Okay. I see what you're saying.
And I'm working on some partnership deals with some coaches and things like that. So when I do bring some people in, I can bring them to some boot camps and level the bar. Like,
how long do you think it takes to spin them up? Like how long would it take like just an average real estate agent to get to like Jim Morris level?
I think
you're the best real estate agent in Nashville, right?
Are you? Yeah, I think you are.
That's the top 1%.
That's what I tell people. Like
the top 1%.
Remember when I told my friend that was actually my girlfriend's cousin or something.
Oh,
That
okay.
remember I
Yeah,
told
yeah,
him
yeah,
like, hey,
yeah.
call,
Yeah.
give Jim a call. They
Yeah.
were coming from Cali, and I was like,
Yeah.
he's the best real estate agent in Nashville. You won't find something better. Now they had already, unfortunately, they already
They
had
already
one.
had a realtor,
They
but
probably really regretted that once they met you, they were probably like, that's who we should have used.
I think too, like in those situations, I always tell everybody, I'm like, call me. Like if you've got a realtor, I'm not gonna ask for commission. I'm not gonna step on their toes. But if you're in questioning just call me. Like, and I'll give you the truth. I had a
Yeah.
buddy. He used his cousin. She charged him like 3%. 2% to the buyer, 1% to her. So he saved 3%.
Mm-hmm.
It was a nightmare. He called me every other day.
Well, you get what you pay for.
Every other day.
Yeah.
And he's like, I should have used you like this. But I'm like, at least call me so I can help advise, because if this is you're selling your house. Like you
What, is
want
that
to
a big
get
deal?
you want to get 800,000, not 700.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds good to me.
He closed 6 weeks after they were supposed to close. It was supposed to be all cash, and they delayed it 6 weeks and got a loan.
Okay, well, how?
I'm like, dude, that thing should have went right back on the market the day that they couldn't close, and you probably would have sold it at the same time, and you could have leveraged that offer.
And they must have had some EMD down on a.
It was. I felt bad.
Yeah, what a disaster. Stepping over dollars to pick up pennies or something, I guess. Trying to save that commish.
And it's sometimes it's not even about a couple $1,000s. Sometimes it's about the stress that you put yourself through, the fear of, man, this isn't going to sell. This is going to ruin this plan and this plan, right? Because when you're selling your home, you're usually doing something with that money.
So you're saying time is money sometimes?
Time is always
Wait,
money.
so that's another thing with the house. See, my apartment, I don't have to mow the lawn. I don't have to clean around it. And, I clean my unit, of course. But see, all that time.
I don't either.
Uh,
I just pay something.
Pay somebody. Right. That's, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you.
Yeah.
It's another reason. It's another reason that's helping to rent, because you're putting all your time into making money.
Yeah. I would say 10 years ago, real estate wasn't as liquid as the last couple, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. So to your point, like, yeah, you could say, okay, I'm ending my lease, and you move and you're done. I think here it's a little bit more delayed.
Yeah.
But I still think our market's so strong that you can be gone within 45 days easily.
Oh, yeah.
If
especially if you priced it.
You understand the pricing.
Yeah.
That's the biggest piece. You're not getting 50,000 more than your neighbor. It's just not happening anymore.
That was last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So, your neighbor's here, and if you can settle here, it's gone in 45 days.
Right.
For sure.
So,
well, I think the market's going to remain relatively liquid just because of the supply and demand imbalance, is basically can't even correct it. Like, we haven't built enough starter homes in the U.S. since like the 70s was the last time we were really building on the level we needed to be on.
We're so far behind.
And the cost to build now, people aren't building a 1,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house very often. They're building a 2,000 square foot, 4-bedroom, 3-bath, and it's just expensive to buy those, right? And so that's another plug for why multifamily is so good, is because the affordability for somebody to just come out of college and get married and buy a home is all-time low.
Yep.
I mean, I think 100%. I saw a chart on Marcus and Millichap's website that, I don't want to misquote the numbers.
The average first-time home buyer last year was 34.
Yeah, that's pretty old.
10 years ago, I think it was 22.
But that's insane. That's a big change.
It's huge.
That's huge.
And it's cultural, and it's it's a bunch of factors, but that's reality.
The percentage of like homes that the median income earner in the U.S. can afford is at an all-time low. It's like, I think the number's somewhere between 20 and 30% of homes they can afford. It's insane.
But yeah, builders, and what I think, the reason why I think the inventory is not going to get to where it needs to be, if you look at, everybody's comparing 2008 to right now, right? If you look at 2008, the builders were too bullish and all lost their asses.
Yeah, they're gone.
Right? So those people who are back and still in the industry, they ain't building another 100 houses this year. They're like, no, it's going through this.
It stopped.
So that scares the builders, which pull back a little bit.
Yes.
Then you got your costs that have people pull back. And then you hike up interest rates, so numbers are tighter. you know, unless you're these big companies that build massive subdivisions nationally, the custom builder is a little bit more refrained, you know, a little bit more cautious, I think, especially if they're around in '08. So that hurts inventory for new
Yeah,
construction.
I mean, I think
On top of
every
already being behind for the last 40 years, you
yeah,
know?
every recession just gets you further on.
Yeah.
You know, we've been behind now for so long that I mean, '08 put us way behind, and I think also the number that went out of business,
True.
you know, that makes it harder. Also, just less people out there building. But yeah, certainly the Fed has slowed home building down a lot. I mean, I think here in Nashville it's changed. I don't claim to be an expert in that field or.
Well, you're right. You're
Exactly,
right.
but
I
it
mean,
seems like it.
we're seeing more homes come back um, to market because of the interest rates. So that's helping a little bit, but that's helping so minute compared to what's needed from an inventory standpoint.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. But well, thanks, Nick. Thanks for sharing some time and
It's
catching
fun.
up, man. It's always a pleasure to hear your thought process. And, you know, you're extremely talented, very smart guy. I always love collaborating and talking ideas and real estate and all that fun stuff. Um, tell everybody how to find you, where to find you. And
I mean, you just find me by calling Jim. No, I'm kidding.
No, seriously though. Yeah.
but Instagram.
Yeah, I've got an Instagram
Facebook,
out there. I got that out there. It's there. Yeah, you can come. You can
Nick
look me.
Lankford.
Yeah, you can look me up.
Catch me if you can.
Yeah, exactly. I'm incognito. So, yeah. No.
Cool, man.
Give Jim a call and he'll hook it up.